everybody. It's great to see you. It's Marilyn Wilson here today from RE Technology, the president of that organization. And I'm here today with a friend of ours, Matthew Embrescia. He's the CEO of Get.realtor. Some of you may have had the pleasure of taking advantage of his great tools, but he's going to tell us more about that today. And just want to let you know what this whole Tech Titans series is about. I've sort of handpicked folks that I think are super smart, bringing great ideas, real progressive thinking into what we do to be strong and vital in our industry for a long time. And Matthew's just one of the folks that we've been lucky enough to have on our show today. So thank you so much. It's great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Marilyn. I'm very excited to be here.
Great. Well, I've got a bunch of questions for you, so I'm going to just jump in and
Sure.
let you tell us all about yourself. So I guess maybe just to start, even before we get into the questions, maybe just tell us a little bit about your history and, how did you get into real estate? How long have you been here? All that kind of good stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I basically grew up with entrepreneurialism in my blood. My dad is a serial entrepreneur, worked his way up to owning and operating TV stations and radio stations. And from a young age, from when he would take me to school, he would always be talking to business lessons or encouraging us to start our own ventures or be our own bosses. And I started working with him when I was 13, and I got exposed to the media and advertising industries at that age and just saw what it was like to build a brand and how different mediums could really elevate a business in a market. And as our company evolved and as the radio and television industry evolved and the internet started to become much more popular and really started to become even more powerful than radio and TV, we as a business and as a family started pivoting some of our investments and our focus towards internet related businesses. And we were early on able to acquire what's called the top level domain, the extension at the end of web addresses like .com or .net. We acquired .jobs early in 2004, and from there we knew that they would be expanding the internet to even broader categories, and so we began to think what other industry verticals made sense for us to apply. And I had always kind of had a hobby or an interest in real estate whenever I would visit a city or living in different cities around the country. Kind of always hobby to look at the real estate and dream and see what was out there. And at the time, I noticed that brokers, agents were starting to get websites for themselves, and also same thing for their own properties. And it just seemed like a logical extension for us to go apply for a TLD in the real estate industry. I was fortunate enough to, while we were developing this concept, get introduced to NAR, the leadership there, and we brought the concept to them and were kicking around different ideas of what TLDs we could acquire and try and apply for. And through that, logically, .realtor came up as a big contender. We wanted something that represented NAR's brand, the value that they bring, the professionalism to the market. And so we knew that would be a logical contender for us to apply for. And then we also wanted something that would cover the industry in general. So in addition to .realtor, we applied for .realestate. And through that, the goal was to take the branding and the value and the identity that NAR has built up in .realtor and bring that to their members, allow them to brand themselves and create a professional presence in the market. And that was really what got us there at that time was, acquiring the TLD and working with NAR and then bringing it to market. And as we brought it to market, we started to get feedback from our customers and the agents about what other tools and resources they might like to have along with the domain name. It's one thing just to get a domain name, but then you need to have a website that goes along with that, and also probably an email address or some sort of professional tools, and even possibly a CRM. The possibilities are limitless, but we knew that just having a domain name was kind of the core central piece of all the other services that we could sell and offer on top of that. And having the power of NAR behind it also just magnifies the opportunity all around, and really creates a valuable and incredible product for customers.
So for those that don't know, why don't you explain what a TLD is and how difficult it is to actually secure one of those? You make it look easy. It's not that easy, is it?
No, it's funny that you say that, because when we first started talking to NAR about this idea, they thought it was great, but then they looked at us and they said, well, why do we even need you? We're NAR. We can go get one of these ourselves. And we said, well, yeah, you can, but here's the resources, here's the materials, here's the information that you need in order to acquire one of these. And couple days later, after looking at that, they said, "Oh yeah, we need you guys." The TLDs and the internet is basically governed by a nonprofit organization called ICANN, which stands for the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. They are their mission is to maintain the security and stability of the internet, and that means that anytime when you type in an address on the internet, it needs to be able to resolve at the appropriate website anywhere at any time in the world. And there's a lot of core infrastructure that manages that. There's also a lot of bad actors that are trying to take that down from other countries that may not be friendly to us. And so the application process is very onerous. You need to demonstrate serious technical capabilities in order to run one of these. You need to also demonstrate financial capability and operational and business capabilities in order to do that. As I said, we were fortunate in when we first applied for .jobs in 2004. At that time, there were only 14 other top-level domains in existence. The original ones that were created when they started the internet that we all know, com, net, org, edu, they wanted to expand those broader, but they were worried that if they added too many too fast, it would break the internet. So we were part of the first proof of concepts, so to speak, where when we were awarded .jobs, we became one of 17 TLDs at that time. And through those proof of concepts, they demonstrated that, yes, they could expand it without breaking things. And fast forward to 2012, when they opened up a full expansion round. At that time, in order to apply for a TLD, each application costs $185,000 non-refundable. And the application totaled probably like 300, 400 pages long, including all the technical specifications and business and financial qualifications you needed to meet. And ICANN received 2,000 applications
Wow.
at that point. So it was quite successful from their viewpoint. But that went from 20 or so TLDs to now we have over 1,000 or so, everything from .realtor, .realestate to .beer, .ninja, even brands like .bentley exist. So it's been quite a big change, but it's also brought the idea that there are other TLDs to consumers besides just the typical ones that we're all familiar with. So
That's great. I really wanted people to understand that I think, if you haven't bought a domain before, it's just like, well, I'll just go do that, right? It's not a just go do that kind of thing. And so for you to have carved out, something that's valuable to what, 1.5 million realtors or some number around that number, that's really powerful. And for real estate, for people that are in real estate that are not realtors, that's amazing too. So thank you for doing that on behalf of the industry, because that was not easy. And the fact that you started this way back in 2004, I'm sure made your application probably sailed to the top of the list, unlike some others that were brand new. So thank you for doing that on behalf of all of us, because it makes it now a lot more affordable, very affordable, actually, for any realtor that wants to take credit for being part of the family. They can do that through what you did. So thank you for that. So
Thank you. And I just want to add that it was important that, and what we advocated with NAR is that NAR or an industry leader take this position, not somebody else, not somebody who would use it to extract as maximum value for realtors, but would see it as something that could benefit them. And that was, important to us, that we wanted to do good with this rather than try and take, as much fees as we could from realtors, but give them a true benefit.
yeah, I love that. And anybody that's taken advantage of your program knows it's very affordable for the size of the value of what you're getting. So you've worked in dot jobs, you've worked in media, you worked with Comcast, you worked with lots of actually companies we've worked with in our past lives too, which is kind of fun. Um, what do you think is really neat about real estate? Why did you decide that was going to be one of your focus and priority areas?
That's a great question. Like I said, not only do I have a personal passion for it, everything from, architecture to design, to just enjoying tracking the market and seeing the value uh, increase or decrease over time, has always been kind of just a personal interest to me. But at the same time, real estate is so personal to everybody. It's your home, right? That's where you live. It's the most often the largest transaction you'll ever do in your life. It's the biggest equity investment that you have, the largest asset in people's life. So it touches so many people. Everybody needs a place to live, and everyone needs a roof. So there's always a core necessity. It's evergreen. It's got all the characteristics that we look for in good, enduringly profitable, businesses that we as a family business, we want things to continue for many generations. So we don't want anything that's just quick and fat flash in the pan. Real estate offers all of those things, and it's consistently increased in value over time. All of those things just really attracted us to it. And on top of that, the opportunity when we started this, it was so nascent. There wasn't a central place where people could go to create a website that was related to their industry or specific to their business or the niche that they operated in. And so I saw a huge void in the market, and with that void, I thought this would be a great opportunity.
Love it. So now that you've embedded yourself, you've gotten sucked into the real estate vortex. We're not letting you out. What would you say, just as a, outsider insider, what do you think is your biggest area when you look at the real estate industry, your biggest areas of worry and optimism for where we're going with our world?
Yeah, I think the worry is the lack of pace and the resistance to change and adoption of these new technology mediums. Consumers are already there. They're on all these new technology platforms. They're Googling people, they're checking out people's websites. But if the real estate industry hasn't met the consumers where they are, then that's definitely a mismatch in the industry at the moment. So I worry that people are still resting on the way that things used to be done, and the pace of technology is advancing so rapidly that if the people aren't willing to meet the pace of change or adopt new methods of doing it, they're gonna get left behind overall. But that's the same area where I see optimism. I mean that technology advancement, the rapid pace is where we are able to offer products that maybe consumers wouldn't be able to access on their own, or try and cobble together on a vendor by vendor basis. We can aggregate those as a central place and offer those to our customers as a one-stop shop, and then they can get access to all the new latest and greatest technological advancements that are out there. So we're, it's a worry because people are slow to adopt new technology, but if we are able to adopt the technology as a business and offer it to our consumers, that's where there is the opportunity and where I'm optimistic.
So for those that you work with, because I know you have thousands of people that have adopted .realtor, what do you see? Do you see a difference in the type of person that adopts you, or in the level of success that they see in their business when they really lean in on the value and power of being a realtor?
Yeah, I think the actual SEO benefit, the professional benefit that our customers receive by having a .realtor or a .realestate domain is tremendous, because when we launched .realtor, it's only for members of NAR, and you must adhere to a code of ethics, and you must use it for your business purposes. So Google has learned over the years that a .realtor domain is a professional who's a member of NAR and in the real estate industry. So that information is already a part of the Google algorithm. And by onboarding and getting a domain that signals to Google that, okay, this person is who they say they are, we don't have to worry about them doing something bad or being a bad actor or stealing people's personal information, because .realtor's already vetted them. So we see tremendous SEO value, less barriers to entry to really rank higher on a search result for specific terms. And then on top of that, it's also, we give people turnkey solutions out of the box. There's very little customization that needs to be done. Of course, the possibilities are endless, but even just out of the box, it's a beautiful professional website that people can use and point to. And as consumers vet and try and find the best agent, if they're comparing one who has a beautiful professional website that looks great and slick versus maybe a Facebook profile or another page on a broker's website, it's that intangible credibility boost that you would get just by having that we've seen over and over again, realtors and real estate professionals benefiting from.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I gotta believe people type the word realtor into their search bar on a regular basis. I mean, it's just gonna get you there. But I think it's neat that there's people that truly recognize the differentiatableness, if that's a word, of being a realtor, and take advantage of something like this. So I know you've got a new adventure. I'd love you to tell us about the Get.realtor. What is that? Is that like got milk, got a mustache? What is Get.realtor?
Yeah. Get.realtor is our homepage for where people can go to purchase our products. And we've always utilized that as the place where people can get our domain names. But over time, as we have broadened our offerings, we've realized the importance of a website and specific websites or templates tailored to different geographies or different specialties in the market, whether you're a buyer's agent or a seller's agent, or you specialize in townhomes or condos or any of those other different areas. That's what's really help differentiating people and our products. So we're really working hard to revamp our website to better address that, so people can more easily find a beautiful website or a template that matches exactly what they want and purchase that package, and then go on later and set up and add a domain name depending on whether they want a .realtor, .realestate. I've talked to people, sometimes it seems very important. What are you going to call your website? I mean, it's the name, it's the title, and we don't want people to get stuck on that. We want them to have a website and to be able to start working on that first, and then take the time to think through what they should call it. and then publish it. So that's really what we're working on now, is
Okay.
redoing Get.realtor so that people can come and pick the best website that suits them. And then after they've been able to choose that website and purchase it, then they can go in and finish the setup by adding a domain name and adding
Oh,
the
I gotcha. So
logo
you
or
flip it because yeah, a lot of times you get stuck, and I'd love to ask your opinion about that too. I know there's a million opinions about URLs and which ones to use and why, but do you have any advice for folks that when they're thinking about, because it is a little overwhelming to go and look and say, what the heck am I going to call this website? And I mean, sometimes it's just, blank real estate or blank realtors. That's easy, right? But if
yeah.
somebody wants to do something a little more clever or unique or localized, how do you help them with that? How do you help them figure out what it should be called?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it sometimes can be so personal, so it's hard to be able to offer solutions to so many different people that are personal, but you can never go wrong with your name. Certainly in this business, that's how many realtors brand themselves. But ultimately, it's however that person has been branding themselves in the market. We have, people who might just use their first and last name, and that's kind of the marketing and branding they've been using, and that works very well. But some people might, like I say, specialize in this particular type of property or geographic areas, and so adding those modifiers, certain catchphrases like ask. We see a lot of people ask Maryland, or your trusted advisor type thing, or condo. Any of those kind of modifiers are also good terms, but really it should. The best thing is that, especially from an SEO standpoint, you want your name to match the content and the URL to all be the same. So if
I did.
you're Condo King, Condo King Matt realtor, then you should be focusing on selling condos and what it means to be selling condos on your website. All those factors together are what make you rank higher, because Google's looking at many different signals when it's determining which domain name or which website to serve up in the search results. So the better you can match all of those together, the more likely you are to be found.
And do you have to be regional? I'll use my name. Mine's about as generic as it comes, right? My dad wanted to call me Mary Wilson. My mother at least convinced him to call me Marilyn Wilson. But even with Marilyn Wilson, there's 400 pages on Facebook with Marilyn Wilsons.
Mm-hmm.
So do you add a geography to that if you've got a name that's not so rememberable like a name like that that's more common?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of strategies. I think that this is then at the end of the day a marketing ploy or marketing business. If you have a strong brand, strong marketing that's tied up into something, then you want to make sure that that's featured in your URL, and then do your same process of continuing the marketing and advertising to drive people to that website.
Got
But
it.
we also advocate that you shouldn't just rely necessarily on one website. Because we make it so affordable, the idea is to have, if you specialize in multiple geographies, to have your own professional website that talks about you as your brand and as a real estate agent and what you can offer to your potential clients. But then when people are searching for real estate in certain geographies, if you also have some URLs that are specific to those kind of searches, you're going to get more inbound inquiries from multiple sources. Obviously, there's a cost consideration for everybody, but that's kind of the best strategy, is to not just think that I'm only going to rely on one. If you can try and figure out what are people most searching for in your area, and where do you specialize and where can you add the most value, trying to capture as many of those terms as possible is going to lead to the biggest return on
Gotcha.
investment.
So kind of a spider web of names, and they all point to the same place, but they have different ways to attract people.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Awesome. That's great advice. It's always for every in any business, that's always the struggle is what should it be called and how do I optimize relative to competition? So I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's turn our attention over to a second for brokers.
Mhm.
Brokers have a whole different set of challenges. On their own, they have a very difficult business right now. The market's down, margins are down for them, commission pressures are going downward. There's a bunch of things that are driving down their profitability, right?
Yeah.
Um, their ability to really support their agents the way they should. So again, with your expertise, not only in real estate but beyond, what do you think brokers should be thinking about to make sure their tech stack helps their agents be more productive and helps their agents create customers for life?
Yeah, again, it's pretty similar to, what I think even the individual realtors should be looking at is, how your agents that working for brokers want to make sure that the broker is providing value and that they're getting referrals, they're getting leads, all of those kind of things. And similarly, like we do for agents, we offer a breadth of packages for the brokers that allow brokers to purchase websites for us with their own custom branding and custom templates that then they can offer to their agents that
Okay.
work for them. That's one of the things that we think offers tremendous value. You have a cohesive brand that exists that throughout all of your agents, but there's also the control of having that agent working under the brand and making sure that they adhere to the standards or the practices of that brokerage.
Mhm.
Um, is certainly something that I would recommend brokers look into. And as you're, to maintain those things in-house can be very costly. So to outsource it to us who we specialize in it and can really make it easy, I think would be something that brokers should look into.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point about affordability. And there's brokers of all sizes, of course, but even the largest brokers we work with on the Wave Group side, many of them have stopped building their own software. They've stopped having their own CTOs because they realize it's just very difficult to do what you do on a regular basis. They're great at selling real estate, but they're not necessarily, willing to spend the time and energy and money, frankly, it takes to compete um, effectively online and just by keeping tools current and leveraging AI and all the crazy stuff that's going on these
Yeah.
days. So that's really good advice, I think. Again, what we see is a lot of brokers are looking at their P&L saying, how do I strip some money out of this thing? Because I just can't afford to live at the level that my company's been living at, given the market that we're at. And there's just an article in this morning, I think that realtor.com shared about how on a good day, there's going to be 4 million homes sold this year when we used to have 6.5. It's a
Wow.
tough market. So I think
Yeah.
leaning on someone that's doing that on behalf of thousands and not just one company makes a ton of sense for sure. Now
Definitely.
let's turn over to your fellow technology entrepreneurs. We have many of them that are that are readers of our technology too.
Yeah.
And we know that this has been a tough go since we had the yaya crazy time when COVID hit and everybody couldn't keep up with anything, and then it just dropped off like a stone. But yet technology companies still offer great things. Agents and brokers still need to take full advantage of them. It's just harder to get through that now. So what's your advice on, how to launch a program that's sustainable and how to ride through the down markets and the up markets? Because you've been in both of them. So what's your advice for them?
Yeah, that's another great question. I think my best advice for entrepreneurs looking to get into the business is to truly understand agents' pain points or whatever pain point in the industry is happening and offer a solution for that. The solution has to be simple and easy and intuitive and not take more time for the agent to utilize than they would otherwise. That's critical. I mean, real estate agents at the end of the day, they're networking and working with people and helping them find or sell their home. And that's all about relationships. And that's where an agent, that's where their their core focus needs to be all the ancillary services around that are a huge opportunity for any entrepreneur looking to get into the business. And there's tremendous amount of money that is in the industry that's available for people to potentially tap into. But if an agent can't easily utilize it, if they can't easily understand it, they're not going to take the time to do that. They're going to move on and get back to focusing on what they do best, which is networking and relationships. So that's key, I think, is finding a need or a pain point that agents might have, and then solving it in a smart, intuitive, and easy way.
Yeah, I have an expression that I say, make sure it's not a vitamin, but it's a painkiller. So if it's sort of a nice to have, it's like, yeah, whatever. There's ambivalence about the idea, it's not going to go anywhere. I think that's absolutely terrific advice. That's true for any product, but particularly in real estate where there are just so many options and so many people coming after that same agent with, the next great solution that may or may not actually do what they need to do. And the
Yeah,
recognition.
how can you help, the agents better do their job? What tools can you offer them that makes them do their job better, that makes them more successful? That's what we think about here, is how do we help them get back to doing what they do best and take the burden off of them of some of the menial or the task work that isn't necessarily driving their business. If you can find that solution, then you're gonna win every day.
For sure. And ways to help them build those client relationships where it looks like they're talking to them individually, but they're really not. Where you're doing the work for them because there's only so many hours in a day. So I totally agree with all of that. So thank you so much for all of this. It's been really fascinating to learn more about you, and I'm really glad to get to know you. Is there anything now, thinking, and you can be a little commercial here, that's okay. But if you're what's the key takeaway, I guess, today of if an agent is serious about their business or a broker is serious about their business, what's the best ways that Dot Realtor can really help them do that work? Because there's lots of options, but like, why can Dot Realtor really be a real magic bullet for them?
I think it's all about branding and being found online. There's no agent that doesn't want more leads, more referrals. And whether you're a brand new agent that has no web presence to an existing top producing agent, they all want more leads, more referrals. And every transaction starts online. So if you don't have a well-established online presence that is capturing people when they're looking for homes, then you're not going to be as successful as you can be. So it's critical that it just is. In the old days, there was phone books, right? And that's where people found everyone. Now it's the internet is our phone book. So when people go to look for any service, anything like that, they're going to go to the internet. They're going to go search properties, and they're going to search all kind of terms. And there's no one that can't benefit from having additional websites, multiple websites that try and capture that search traffic or are ways that people can find themselves in their business. And it's just only going to help elevate their own business to have more people finding them, contacting them, interacting with them, even if it's a free service they're offering, whether it's mortgage calculators or neighborhood information. All of those things will later on lead to more referrals, more leads in the future. And I feel like I said, everyone can benefit, from the new agent to the longtime top producing agent that already has a web presence. You don't get penalized for having multiple web presences. You only get rewarded. So I think that's probably what I would say is the most benefit, or where people can benefit the most.
I love that. So one final question, and I don't know the answer to this, so I'm interested in what you're hearing, but I know in my own personal behaviors, and I think we're all kind of at this nation stage when it comes to ChatGPT and how to use those kinds of searches, right? We were all sort of learned how to do Yahoo and Google and even AOL in the old days, right?
Mm.
Does working with Realtor actually help you optimize your presence if someone does a search for you via ChatGPT?
Yeah, I mean, ChatGPT is searching the internet just in the same way that, you know, Google's indexing it. They're tapped into all of that. They're looking at all the metadata that exists and pulling from that. So if they're you know, searching for something through ChatGPT, then it's going to be the same information and same way that Google or any other search engine is indexing all the other websites. ChatGPT has that same information, and you know, it's still too new to really say how ChatGPT is interacting and what um, search results they're coming back with, but it's all been all the training and the language models are based on existing information. So there's nothing that would indicate to me that it wouldn't be the same.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I think that's just going to get bigger and bigger, don't you, over time? We're
Oh
just
yeah, I think AI is so fascinating. I mean, I think it's going to be a wonderful tool, and you know, going to be a part of our lives going forward, just like the fax machine and email and all these new tools came in that helped us as a business. ChatGPT is going to be one of those new tools that will stand alongside all of the other existing ones that we use in our business. It's still early days, so we're still experimenting and exactly figuring out how to best integrate it in there. So you know, we're cautiously approaching it going forward to make sure that if we roll anything out, it's going to be useful and not just the latest trend. But no doubt AI is going to be transformational to not only real estate and the business, but the entire commerce function in the world.
exactly. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for being a tech titan. Thank you for bringing your depth of media and TLD. Now we have a new word, TLD experience to the
Yes.
industry. Really appreciate that, and good luck with everything. I hope that Get Realtor takes you and so many realtors to the next level with their online success. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.